Okay, there we go. All right. So for those of you who are watching this after the fact, welcome. We are lucky enough to have Vincent Marinelli here, who is going to talk to us about his experiences at work camp. And you did 6 different years, correct, Vincent?
Yes, 6 different years. So from 2014 to 2019.
And what, like, just tell us what was your reason for wanting to go and what you got out of it, and what would you say to these guys that are thinking about going?
Oh man, there was a lot I got out of work camp. It was a really cool experience, not only seeing different parts of the country, seeing people from a lot of different walks of life, not only the residents who helped, but also just all the different people that came together for that one mission. And it was really cool to see how much you could get done like physically on a house and how much you could get done like with residents and like emotionally with connecting with people in a week. So that was a really powerful part about it for me, probably. Why I started going was my friends were going. All of us were, it was sort of the thing. We sort of had that youth group pipeline of sorts. I don't know what you could call it, but and so we all signed up. And I mean, we were rolling in with groups of like 50 kids. I mean, I think we had like a 56-person group one year, which was daunting and a lot of kids to keep track of. So going with a smaller group is definitely the way to go to begin. But and doing the volunteer hours was just something like, you're 14 or 15 and you're like, I need to get volunteer hours to check off like scouts or NHS or whatever. And so a lot of it was that was also a motivation, especially for a lot of people. Like it's a great extracurricular college application activity. So that was sort of my motivation for going. And then after one work camp, we were sort of hooked. Like it was a big decision to try and decide like, oh, are we going to stop going? And so that ultimately I only made it like my sophomore year of college. But
We wondered, so we had a list of questions. I mean, obviously, Peyton, Michael, George, or my kids, chime in if you've got questions, but we wondered, what are some of the projects that you do on the houses while you're down there?
yeah, so 5 of my 6 years, maybe all six actually, were painting. Painting interior, exterior. Um, some were, one was like staining the exterior of a house and it was 3 stories tall. The one in Woonsocket, I believe, was staining the exterior of a house that was 3 stories tall and also painting trim. And so I had a double crew for that one. So there were 14 of us, people from Michigan, Minnesota, Ohio, who had all converged on Woonsocket, Rhode Island. And that was really cool to meet all those people and do those projects. But yeah, we showed up with, I mean, we had a whole van of just tools. Everyone brought a bucket, like a Home Depot or Lowe's bucket. They had a list of approved tools. In June, we would always do tool time. And so that taught you how to use, if you're 16, you can operate power equipment. If you're under 16, you can't. But that taught us painting, climbing, ladder safety, just the basic stuff that they go over with you at work camp, but just so from people of the church or people in the congregation also wanted to help like show us how to use some tools too and be handier. And that's a valuable skill. I mean, I can't tell you how many, things I've had to paint or hang or, since then at apartments or college dorms or whatever. So that's a valuable skill to have too, just the types of project. But mostly I was interior painting, exterior painting. Some people did construction. My brother was fortunate enough, he got a bunch of construction jobs. He built a wheelchair ramp, which was really cool. Those are some classic projects. That's some tough stuff, but they make sure you're paired up with people that know what they're doing. And so it's really cool though if you can get on one of those construction jobs because that's like you can really see the progress better than painting. But painting is equally valuable, and I mean, people, some people just don't want to paint, or painting's very expensive. So painting was cool, and it's not too physically taxing. So there were some people that really wanted to go down and paint, and that was a good thing they knew how to do. But that's mostly what I did.
What did your evenings look like once you wrapped up? So you got up in the morning, you went and did your work, and then you came back. So what did the rest of your day look like? Like when did it wrap up?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I can walk you through like a whole typical day if that works. So we'd wake up like 7:30, maybe 7, and we'd go and get breakfast. Some people, packed some cereals and slept in, but that was a controversial decision. Then we'd go to morning program. You'd sort of pair up with your crew, get ready for the day. They'd talk about an overarching message. You'd go to your job site. You would work for a few hours, then you'd stop, have lunch, and a devotional, which was just a guided prayer that they would, a prayer exercise that was always related to like the theme of the week and the theme of that specific day. You'd have sort of one verse that you explored throughout the day. And then you had a few more hours of work in the afternoon. We usually would wrap up, depending on, the drive back to the high school, how far away your site was, if they wanted to take you out for Dairy Queen, all sorts of things. Probably about 3:30, 4 o'clock. So it was usually like 6 or 7 hours of real working. Then we'd come back. My evening activity was always Frisbee. We had a robust Frisbee team. Team. We had a bunch of us that wanted to play Frisbee, and guys, girls, people from other states, would all join us. And then usually Thursday we'd have a big Frisbee tournament. But we'd play Frisbee for a couple hours, get super sweaty, come back, shower, eat dinner, go to evening program, which is where they'd have a more in-depth, sort of service. And then after that, you'd go to a devotional just with your own youth group. And then after that, you'd sort of have free time. So I guess you had free time probably about, I want to say 11 was lights out. And so it was probably a couple hours of each night was just free to chill with your friends and play cards and eat snacks and do all sorts of stuff like that.
Okay, that's helpful to know, Melissa. We got to pack Frisbees and footballs and cards and
Yeah.
you don't know to pack until you've done it a couple times.
Yeah, right.
Was it hard to get kids off of their electronics?
Ooh, that's a great question. Maybe a little bit, not too much. I don't know. We mostly all, like when we were at work camp, we wanted to, I don't know, hang out and talk and chat. And some kids would be on their phones, sure, and it was more, I don't think it was ever really an issue with our group though, to get kids off the phones. You would still be on your phones, whatever. You could check stuff. It wasn't like you were sequestered from society. Like you could still text people. Like it wasn't a huge deal, but you definitely did focus more on connecting with the youth group, I think.
Good. Welcome, Lindsay.
Hi, sorry about that.
Happy to have you here. No, Vincent's been like giving us all kinds of great information.
Okay, perfect.
So it worked out perfect.
Yes.
Really
Thank
good.
you for joining us. Just to warn you, we are recording it to send out to
Okay, that's
everybody
totally
so
fine.
that others can listen. So we were just asking about the type of projects and things to bring. But what would you say it was the best thing about work camp, for instance?
Ooh, I would probably say just meeting all the new people. It was always fun being able to connect with everyone. You're put with new people every year, right? So it's like you really just get to know your group. And I have lasting friendships because I still talk to some people from my individual team from years in the past. And so that's probably the best part about it, just like the social aspect of all of it.
Another question we had is, what was the one thing about it you would change?
One thing about it would change. Oh, geez. This is a tough question. Probably, not gonna lie, probably the showers.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
Yeah, that was probably the worst part.
Why?
It depended on the work camp, but
yeah, that's true.
Can you
like,
guys
there
think
were
back
some-
to Rhode Island?
I'm trying to think Lindsay, did you go to Woonsocket?
I think that was a year before I went on my first one.
Shoot. Okay, let me try and think. I can remember the Frisbee field, which is really unfortunate. Because I'd like to joke that like if we weren't a Christian mission, it would be a Frisbee mission. That was how dedicated we were to Frisbee.
It's so true.
It is very true. I want to say Woonsocket was one of the nicer ones where we had indoor showers for youth boys and youth girls, as well as adults. The adults usually always had interior showers. There were some places like Frederick, Maryland, I believe, we had a really nice high school, but you had to shower outside. It was just like a PVC tube with holes poked in it. And it had like some Tyvek like sheeting around it. So that one was less good. But I want to say Woonsocket was one of the better ones where you had like a private shower stall. So, but yeah, those were definitely And I think Woonsocket, we stayed in classrooms. We didn't stay in like one big gym, which was always better. Like if you
Oh.
stayed with just your youth group, you know, you could know if someone in your youth group was snoring, right? You could maybe control that. But like if you had a massive group and everyone was in a big gym, it was a little tougher. So sleeping in the showers was always tough. But you're not doing that for that much of the trip. So we still came back.
Yeah, and Denise said you guys are so wiped out by the time the day is done that most people slept pretty good.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
What would you say is the most important thing to bring with you?
Oh, come on, we know Frisbee is Vincent's.
Well, yeah, we had plenty of that.
I was gonna say sunscreen.
That's probably good.
Yeah.
That's good. I'd say plenty of shirts, just because, I mean, you get paint on a shirt, and like plenty of clothes you could paint in too. Like, don't bring your
Yeah.
nicest clothing. Like, some people would dress up after you take a shower, you cleaned up, you'd wear something that, like, you would present yourself in public in. But I definitely bring plenty of paint shirts and shorts you can paint in. Like, just go to Ocean State Job Lot and get some cheap clothing. And
Yeah, and shoes you don't mind getting destroyed. I just remember my
right.
shoes were always the worst when we would leave.
Okay, and Denise said that you have to pack everything in a banana box.
Yeah,
You
so
really fit a week's worth of clothes in a banana box?
you
Yes,
can,
you
but
can.
you have to be strategic about it. Like you have to really, I mean, for my shirts and everything, you got to roll them up and like place them nicely. But it's doable for sure.
Okay.
It is.
Yeah.
And the banana box was like the best thing, because if you didn't fill a banana box, like, you probably didn't have enough. And if you had more than a banana box, you had way too much. So it was a very good like measure of how much stuff you needed to bring.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then
And it
you
was
can use
mostly
it.
clothing.
Okay,
Like,
and you can
there
use it as a
wasn't much
little
else.
side table. She
Sure.
said. Yeah, she said. You
Oh
could
yeah,
put-
I did that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great, because I could just imagine, a lot of kids showing up with big duffel bags and all kinds of stuff if you don't limit.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of a
If you
mess.
don't
Also,
limit.
the banana boxes were fun because we would all decorate them differently.
Yeah.
And so
Oh,
it was always fun because everyone would have like their little unique banana box every year.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah.
And note that bedding doesn't have to go in the banana box. Like, your air mattress and your sheets was a separate
Okay.
item. Like, there are some people that would pull it off and then they definitely didn't have enough stuff.
Okay.
But just note that bedding was separate and tools were separate.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, the number that I had given was like, just to register ahead of time, was like 38. Like, I'm hoping to get, that many people in total. We don't quite know because we just started ramping up, and Melissa and I have we've been at the church for quite a while, at 7 years, and we've taught Sunday school and things, and now our kids hit the work camp age, and we're like, we could do this. So I kind of roped her in, and
I'm happy to be roped and excited to do this. Yeah.
That's great though. It's gonna be such a fun experience.
Yeah. It really is a good time. I mean, we enjoyed all of our work camps. I think I enjoyed all my work camps for sure. But
I did too. They were great.
And
I
I think
remember being so impressed by having the line of like all 50 of you guys up at the front of the church before you left, and thinking, wow, that's impressive that so many youth want to go and do this mission trip. That's amazing.
And the fact that you wanted to do it over and over tells me that you definitely got something out of it that made you want to go back. So that's a good endorsement. Here's a question for both of you. Like I said, we're thinking about, trying to get like 38 people. And what were your thoughts on inviting kids outside of the church? Like a friend of somebody, purely because I'm a little worried we're not going to get a whole lot of people. I mean, I'm hoping we could fill it all with, people that go to church, but did you have any instances where somebody would bring a friend? I mean, I would expect that they would have to do all of the service, everything that you guys had to do, but
yeah, I had a few friends who joined from outside the church that I was personal friends with, and I kind of like brought them into it.
Okay.
In terms of, I know they had to get their like the hours that we all had to work. I don't remember what the number was now. I think 40, right?
Yep.
So I know they had to do those hours in terms of like going to church and things like that. Their connections were within the church. They didn't know a lot of people in the community. But I always hoped to kind of bring them into that as much as I could. Unfortunately, because of COVID, that wasn't really possible once that happened. But I think it's a great thing to do, and I think it opens people up to this really great world that they, might hopefully want to stay involved in.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
I
Yeah.
had a similar experience. I brought a friend who, was sort of looking for volunteer hours, and he had a brother that was also friends with my brother. So they came. They both came, I think, to a few work camps, and they enjoyed it. I mean, they got a lot out of it. They, I don't know if it, they didn't end up, staying with SUMC or going to SUMC a lot, but they enjoyed work camp. They enjoyed, spending time with friends, really. So I don't think it's a real issue as long as, like Lindsay said, they're willing to put the 40 hours in. Those were the friends that did the chicken soup.
Okay. The double hour chicken soup.
Yeah.
Okay. And now what, I don't know much about the lock-in. What was your guys' thoughts on the lock-in just as an experience? Did you enjoy it? Is it something that you felt was really worthwhile?
I remember, I completely forgot the lock-in was a thing, but now I can remember a lot of lock-ins. Because we had youth group lock-ins and also the work camp lock-in. It was good. I mean, it was a little, they tried to make it like a mini work camp. I remember one where we like helped out with the church activities and stuff and cleaning up the church. And we had fun games and traditions we'd play, and you'd sleep in the, we slept in 104, 105, and that was sort of simulating what work camp would be, but if only for a night. But I think it was good. I think it was worthwhile. Yeah. I don't know what you would say.
Okay.
Yeah, I enjoyed it as well. I mean, it kind of depends. That one's a little iffy because I feel like there's people who really don't like them, and then there's people who really enjoy them. I had a lot of close friends who were in work camp with me, so I had a lot of fun at those. If you can't connect with people as easily or as quickly, it might not be as fun because then you're kind of just stuck in the space together all night. But I still think it's worth doing. Yeah, I agree with Vincent.
Okay. Yeah, because we're kind of finding that sports, and I don't know if this was really, you probably had a similar experience, but sports are so intense on weekend times now that people like, we've got some hockey parents and they do tournaments every weekend. And Denise had said, even if you can't show up till 11 o'clock at night, if you can come and just partake somewhat of the lock-in, because I think parents are just feeling really overscheduled, and their kids are overscheduled, and it's like, am I going to have time to get all these community service hours? And because I had somebody say to me, like, that's a lot of community service hours, and I said, we facilitate it. We're not asking you to go out and find opportunities. Like, we're going to provide lots of opportunities where you'll have more than enough hours at the end. And it sounds like it was never really a problem to get the hours.
No.
Okay.
It never was.
Okay.
No, I mean, it was a lot of mine were bottle drives. A lot of them were, I mean, if you did, a handful of bottle drives plus all the events that sort of officially had to do, it was pretty easy to hit. I mean, if you were peeling potatoes at turkey dinner and helping, wave cars around at the chicken barbecue, and gosh, I'm trying to think of all the other events we did. It was a lot. It is a big time commitment. Like, I'm not going to act like it was, a really short amount of time, but like I ran all 3 seasons at Shen and found a way to make as much as I could. But I know hockey is a big commitment too. But
how often would you do bottle drives?
It was once a month. I think it was like the first Saturday of every month.
Yeah.
For like how many hours?
Oh, they're 3 hours, I think.
There were 3 or 4, probably 3.
Like 9 to 12 kind of thing. Drop off.
That
Around.
sounds right.
I think that's what they usually were. They were,
And
bottle drives were always fun.
there were families that would sponsor them too. So you would do like 3 family. You would sign up to sponsor a bottle drive, and you just have like 3 parents there, and they would bring in Dunkin' Donuts and orange juice and bagels and something. So you'd have breakfast, and kids could come in and eat that and also work. And there was definitely a work-play balance at bottle drives. You don't get bottles for all 3 hours. Like the first hour is a lot of bottles and the other 2 were less bottles. But
And
then
then
those parents would like set up and clean up after, like with the kids of those families. But
Okay.
whatever
Okay.
was left.
That's helpful. And then you would bring them to the grocery store or something, or you bring them to one of the places you drop them off, or did the families do that?
I think the families did that, didn't they?
Okay.
Or
It
did-
was usually Mama L, I think.
Oh yeah, you're right. It was.
And we would go, so we would pack her van with the bottles enough that you could only fit like one other person in the car. And I forget the place we would drive them to. I know there's a place by Job Lot that does recycling on Fisher Ferry.
Yes.
But
You just
I-
dump them
And you dump them and they count them. But we had this thing where we would put, so it was 150 cans in a bag, it was 80 plastic bottles, and it was 20 2-liter plastic bottles. That was like the set amount. And that was sort of like what this place counted them as. I forget the name of the place though. You'd have to contact.
I think I've been there.
Okay.
Yeah, one of those like big smelly places that you bring in all your, yeah.
But
Yep.
we like, it was something to make their job easier. Like they could say, okay, you get X amount per each of these bags.
Okay.
And they knew that. And that was how many easily fit in a bag. So we were just counting to those numbers. Like the fact that I remember these numbers is a sign of how
Yeah.
many.
That's
Yeah,
fun.
that's impressive actually. I'm not gonna lie, I had forgotten that.
All right. Melissa, what else did we have? Anything?
Well, the last question was, how did you feel like it changed your life or brought you closer to God by doing this?
I feel like for me, it gave me more reasons to like go to church because I think I mean, I was a lot younger when we were doing them and I would find it kind of boring at first, but I met a lot of people through that and a lot of my sister's friends. And it made me more excited to go because they were all it was just really fun. And I mean, the trip itself too, like it's just a great opportunity for that. You go to so many devotionals and things like that. You don't even, it's kind of like a subconscious thing. I didn't realize how much closer my relationship was becoming with God. And then it kind of was just happening slowly over time. If that makes sense. I don't know if that made any sense, but
Yeah, I would say I would agree with that. That like it was definitely the trip was fun, the road trip itself was fun, and also that it changes your life with the people you meet and like some of the residents I met were just really incredible people. Like they were just really like you felt bad that maybe this was the state their house was in, but you were like so happy to be able to help them. And that was very cool and that was very life-changing. I mean, growing up in Clifton Park and then seeing some of the places you're visiting is very eye-opening as well. And just to like see these communities at a really granular level. In terms of bringing your relationship close to God, I'd say it's very much some of the songs and stuff, like the devotionals and the services are very powerful in the way they're delivered. And if you get a good MC, that's a blessing. Like a good MC could really make a work camp a lot better. But the songs were really cool. I mean, we were singing like a lot of really fun Christian rock songs that would dominate my playlist maybe for a few weeks afterwards. But it was, I'd say definitely the services and the music helped, broaden my relationship with God.
yeah, I would say the residents' reaction as well. Like
Mhm.
I mean, I got lucky because I didn't go to as many as Vincent, but I had good experiences with all of my residents. And just seeing their reactions, like on that last day when they get to come to the school and like meet everyone and see everyone, outside of just working. And everyone in my residence cried and just were so grateful. And I feel like that's just something you never forget. So it stays with you for sure in a really good way.
That's great. Thank you for sharing all of this with us, you guys. That is really a huge thing for us and for our youth. And I don't know if any of them had any questions they wanted to ask.
Did you guys have any questions? No.
Like, what do they think was like the best part of it?
I think I kind of went through.
Well, like the tennis or the frisbee stuff.
Well, I don't think the frisbee stuff was the best part. I think
I
that
will say it was fun. It was a good time.
Looking forward to the trip for those guys.
There were a lot of us guys and girls that would play a decent amount. But
Yeah.
I mean, the fun part of it was, hanging out with all your friends. I mean, you get to go on a big road trip with all your friends at the end of the day, which is, you get a week away from doing whatever you're doing all summer. And it can feel like a vacation at some points. It feels like a mission trip at some points. It feels like you're, working on a site at some points. But ultimately, it was a really good experience. I'd recommend it for everybody, really.
Yeah, I would too. I think it's great that you guys are taking the initiative to make it happen because I was so bummed when it got canceled after COVID because I really wanted to keep going. It was so fun.
Oh, good.
It's too bad they don't have a college age one for you, or young
Yeah.
adults one, if your
Right.
churches now need people to go, I guess. But
Hmm.
all right. I think that's about it. Unless you can think of anything else that we should know.
I don't think so. I mean, definitely Denise is a great resource. She led a lot of them and has seen all of it, probably more than, well, maybe not more than Lindsay knows, but more than I know for sure.
Yeah, she can talk your ear off about it.
Yeah,
She's very
definitely seen it all.
passionate about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah, and she took over from Lori Schellinger and Eric Anderson, who also did an awesome job,
Hmm.
keeping the whole machine going for as many years as they did it, which was a very long time. So there are a lot of great resources at SUMC, and I think I'm really glad it's getting started back up again.
Oh,
No matter what the group size is, I was so happy to hear that kids are going back. Like
Yeah.
it was a big part of my SUMC experience, so I'm glad that it can still get passed on even though it was canceled.
Yeah, and I think even during kind of the stressful times, because I know my mom would have some nights where she was just working on it and it would stress her out or it would be on her heart, but she kept the passion there. And I think that was the biggest thing is when you see your leaders having a passion for it, it definitely all of the kids feel it as well and the youth feel it too. So I think that's a huge part of it is just trying to push through the tough times to just really stay excited because then other people will as well, and you'll definitely get that result of changing the kids' lives, to be honest.
Yeah, that was the thing the adults came back with too, is like for any adults you're trying to convince to go, because it can be a tall task to watch over a bunch of teenagers for a week.
Oh, yeah.
And to also get assigned a random group of teenagers that you're now, looking over and potentially organizing a paint crew and stuff. But they did emphasize, letting the kids lead a lot. And, all of the adults on my crew were, some of them were all right, but some of them were very nice. And, they ran the gamut. But these kids are really good kids that go on these trips, and it's not super daunting. All the adults very rarely had like a bad experience with like the random crew they got assigned.
Yeah.
But for any adult nerves that we can try and calm too.
okay.
All right. Well, there's something in the chat. Let me just check if there was a question there. Oh, no.
I think
Okay.
that was just me.
Oh, okay. No worries. So, all right. Well, I think that's it then, everybody. Thanks again. And
Yeah. This was so helpful. And the fact that we were able to record it and we can share, because we just wanted the kids to hear from the work campers themselves. So this is such a big help for us.
Yeah, thank you for asking us.
Sure, yeah, happy to do it.
all right. Have a good night, everyone.
All
Thank
right.
you as well.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks.